So it is 7 o'clock and we're going to get started. Thank you everybody for coming. This is really exciting to see so many interested and engaged Brecksville voters tonight. I'm Janet Popielski. I'm one of the Brecksville residents that worked with the League of Women Voters to bring you tonight's forum. The Cleveland chapter of the League of Women Voters was founded in 1920 by Belle Sherwin, the daughter of the founder of Sherwin-Williams. Since its founding, the Cleveland League has established itself as a nonpartisan organization willing and eager to advance good government through an informed and educated electorate. And we're very excited that you're here with us tonight. Tonight's forum will be moderated by Pam Smith, a longtime League volunteer and experienced moderator. Once again, I'd like to thank the League for helping us put this on tonight. I'd like to thank the Cuyahoga County Public Library for hosting us at this facility. And I'd also like to thank the students from the Brecksville Broadview Heights High School who will be running questions and doing the timekeeping, as well as students from the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center who are here from the Media Arts program recording this for us tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pam. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you very much, Janet. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I have always enjoyed candidates' nights, and I hope that each of you will enjoy it tonight as well. I'm going to start by reading a few of the procedural rules. We're going to start out with the candidates. We've done a coin toss. Mr. Petsche will start first with a 2-minute opening, followed by Mr. Kingston, and at the closing, we'll reverse that order. And they will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Your timekeepers are here at the front. And then after opening statements, we start our questions and answers. And for a candidates event, that is really the meat and potatoes here, because we want to ask a lot of questions and we want to have a lot of ideas coming up here. As you're listening to a candidate or to another question, or to another, and through another question, if you want to do a follow-up or ask a continuing question, raise your hand. And one of these students will come find you and take your question. They will have additional pieces of little note cards to write more questions on. So we expect to get through a lot of questions and answers, and everyone will go home knowing much more about the candidates running for mayor here in Brecksville. We're going to, I want to make sure you also understand that written questions are screened by the 2 people on that table. And they're screened for duplicate questions, because we don't want to ask the same question 6 different ways. We want to ask one question and get on to other questions. They will also screen to make sure that everyone will be able to understand the question. Candidates get 1 minute to answer a question, and it's amazing. We want to get through a lot, and probably they'll answer in less than 1 minute. There's a table in the hallway for more candidate literature as you leave. Right now, I'd like to get started. And our first candidate to ask a question is Mr. Petsche. You will be doing the opening statement for 2 minutes.
My name is Jack Petsche. Thank you, League of Women Voters, and thank you all for being here tonight. I graduated from Florida Atlantic University as a faculty scholar. I graduated near the top of my law school class from Cleveland Marshall Law School. I came to Brecksville right out of college to take care of my grandmother when my namesake, my grandfather Jack Petsche Sr. died. And we've lived here now for 27 years. All 3 of my children attended the Brecksville Broadview Heights schools through the 12th grade. And now my grandchildren live here, and they're in the back of the room. We are a forever Brecksville family. I have run my own construction business for over 40 years. I've managed a workforce of 15 to 20 people, and some people have been with me for over 30 years. I value keeping my employees well paid, happy, and safe. I've managed many projects with some of the largest and best general contractors in the Northeast Ohio area, getting the work done within budget and on time. I know how to manage people. I know how to collaborate, plan, and lead. I have the experience needed to lead our city. I love our city. You can love living here and still want progress. If we keep saying everything is fine and thriving, we will never move forward. When I was on city council for 2 years, I helped develop the city's master plan. There are some great ideas in there. Let's make good use of them. I hope you leave here today knowing me better, understanding my vision, and feeling confident that I have the experience to lead our city. This is an important election. It's the first time you've had a chance for a new leadership in 36 years. Vote for a candidate with high academic credentials. Vote for a leader with decades of success in business. Vote for me, Jack Petsche, for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston?
Thank you. Thank you, League of Women's Voters, for hosting this forum, and thank you for everybody who's here tonight. I'm Daryl Kingston, and I'm running to be Brecksville's next mayor. I'm currently on Brecksville City Council, serving as chairman of our Streets and Sidewalks Committee, as well as serving on both our Finance and Safety Service Committees. I was previously chairman of our Utilities Committee, and my involvement with the city began as resident member of the Board of Zoning Appeals. As a councilman, I pride myself on my responsiveness. And as your mayor, I will continue to stay engaged with our residents and always represent Brecksville with integrity and professionalism. I have the passion to maintain the high level of expectations our residents have come to expect in our service, our amenities, and our safety. I will put in the effort required to ensure that Brecksville remains an unparalleled community to live, work, play, and invest. We have seen how cooperation and mutual respect between City Council and the administration has benefited our city in recent years. With the many capital improvement projects, economic development, and connectivity projects. It is this template of cooperation, collegiality, and consensus building between City Council and the administration that's really the cornerstone of everything my campaign's about. This is how we get things done. We have a lot of major projects underway and planned in town right now, many of which we'll be talking about here tonight, I'm sure. The success of the next mayor will lie in their ability to work with council by establishing priorities that benefit the most. I have cultivated working relationships with our boards, commissions, and department heads. Over the past several years, I have got the experience and proven leadership to ensure a seamless transition in our city government with the retirement of Mayor Ruby after 36 years. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions tonight.
Thank you very much. We will now start to ask questions, and I'll alternate between candidates. If someone has directed a question to a candidate, they will start with that question. They will be able to start that answer, but their opponent will also be able to chime in with his feeling on that question. First question to Mr. Petsche. Explain your ideas around the future of affordable housing in Brecksville.
I don't know this.
Please use your mic.
Affordable housing, to me, would mean housing that young people can afford. But I haven't really thought about it. I haven't really discussed it. It's not really part of my agenda. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Do you have any comments on affordable housing? Mr. Kingston?
I would be against affordable housing as far as subsidizing it. However, down at Valley Acres, we are going to have some new living opportunities that, could draw people that normally couldn't afford to be here, in some high-end apartments. So that's all.
Thank you. The next question, starting with Mr. Kingston. How is Valor Acres doing? When will places open? Are there commitments for retail stores?
Valor Acres is doing great.
You can direct your answer
okay,
to
sure.
the audience.
Valor Acres is doing great. Right now, Canvas is well underway, and that's on the north end, and that's where you see all those condos and townhouses going up. Those are selling as fast as they're going up. Phase 1 on Miller is pretty much set. They're now working and planning right now on phase 2. When things will start getting announced should be very soon. I think the first 2 items will be the hotel and the grocery. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, would you have some comments on Valor Acres?
Yes, Valor Acres is a great project. I know the DiGeronimos, I wish them the best of success with Valor Acres. I think that the success of our community is tied to Valor Acres. So I think that we should pay attention to what's going on there. And I'm constantly asked what's going in there, what's going on. So I would like to see a citizens committee engage with the developers so we can stay better informed about what's happening.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, what would you do to improve our rec center, which the writer of this question says was one of the first of its kind in the county?
Our rec center is 27 years old. I mean, it's over 27 years old. I've been working out there for 27 years. And I'm still working out on the same equipment that I was 27 years ago. So we need some new equipment. We need some new treadmills in particular. And we need a refresh. We need some new carpeting. We need some new furniture. But it is a wonderful place. I love it there. I'm there 2 to 3 times a week at least. And I think that we should invest a little more money in the community center. It's the busiest building in the city, and I love it there, and I want to see some improvements.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston, what would you do to improve the rec center?
I won't disagree with Jack. I mean, it does need a refresh, paint, carpet. I mean, it has been a while since we've done a lot of work in there. We have invested a lot in our recreation program, though. I would say we're one of the highest. I've spent more money on recreation in our city over the last 5 years than most cities in the area. As far as new equipment, I mean, obviously it's not health club quality equipment. I mean, we run equipment lean. We typically don't buy brand new equipment. But should we invest a little bit more? And is that the plan? Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston, a lot of the administration serves at the discretion of the mayor. Should you be elected mayor, do you have any idea of any changes which you might make with regard to department heads?
I would make no changes with any department heads over the last several years. I built a strong relationship with all of them. They really are the secret sauce that holds the city together. So no, definitely no changes.
Mr. Petsche, have you any ideas about how you would run the city administration?
I would continue with the same department heads, with the exception of the law director. But I do think they do a great job. The finance director, the purchasing director, the recreation department director, everyone. They do a fantastic job. The service department, the maintenance department. It's a great group, and why mess with success?
Thank you.
I do have one point of clarification I would like to make.
You may.
The law directors do not serve at the pleasure of the mayor, so you would not be able to make that change. It's in the charter. That's actually a council function.
Thank you, Mr. Petsche. This question is kind of a piggyback on that one. Someone has handed this in saying you are currently suing the city as well as many people, including the law director. How do you see yourself working with the law director if there's a suit in consideration?
I don't see myself working with the law director. I would ask for his resignation, and I believe he would give it to me. I do, however, I do want to say this about the lawsuit. That was a malicious prosecution. It was thrown out of court. There was no basis to it. It was politically motivated. It was a terrible thing to do to my family, to my wife, and to me. And I think that I have the right to recover my attorney's fees with regard to that matter. If conflict arises with regard to my decision-making, with regard to the lawsuit, I will recuse myself and pass that to someone else. I will not tolerate a conflict of interest with regard to this lawsuit. However, there may never be a conflict because it might settle.
In your campaign, is it money within our region or is it outside money?
All of my campaign donations, except for one friend in Westlake, are, small denomination donations from people in Brecksville.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, who is financing your campaign?
Well, largely it's self-financed so far by me and my wife. And we have gotten some campaign donations. One came from the mayor of Broadview Heights, and another came from a friend of mine from outside the city. Otherwise, all of our donations have come from inside the city, from people who live inside the city.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Petsche, what are your plans for the south side, south of Valor Acres? Do you want apartments and low-income housing?
No, I don't. South of Valor Acres is all industrial, so I don't really understand the question. But no, I'm not for low-income housing or affordable housing. That is a slander on me that started back in 2015 when I first ran. And I mentioned housing that young people can afford. We have children, and our children want to live here, but they can't afford to live here. Can we do something about that? That was my suggestion in 2015, and somehow that was twisted into that I advocate for Section 8 housing or affordable housing in that sense. I do not. I never have, and I never will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kingston. If I could ask you to hold your applause, we'll get through more questions. Thank you. Mr. Kingston, do you have any comments on low-income housing?
Non-affordable housing, no, I don't have any more comment.
Thank you.
Already covered that.
Mr. Kingston, a question had come up last night and was, I think would apply to the mayor's office as well, and I'm going to ask it. That in 2015, Republican Governor John Kasich created the Ohio Collaborative Community Police Advisory Board. This board was tasked with producing statewide minimum standards for best policing practices, with the expectation that all police agencies in the state of Ohio would meet these standards. Brecksville Department does not meet these standards. Neighboring police departments, Broadview Heights, Independence, and North Royalton, do. If elected, will you take steps to ensure that the Brecksville Police Department moves forward towards meeting these standards?
Yes, I will, and I actually called Chief Krennick today as a result of that question. I never got a hold of him to see where we were. I know we have applied for that before. We currently are not in compliance. I'm not sure what it is, what box that needs to get checked. I know recently we just got $109,000 in grants for some body cams. Maybe that was part of it. I'm not sure, but I'll follow up with Stan and find out.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, what's your position on the police department meeting standards from the state?
I would like to see our police meet those standards. I will say this, I've had some interaction with the police, and I think they're fantastic. And I don't think I would change a thing, but standards are good, and we should try to meet the standards set forth by the state of Ohio.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, would you consider running buses for seniors to places like the West Side Market and Edgewater Park, outside, obviously, the borders of Brecksville?
Yes, I think that's a very nice idea. Many seniors have difficulty driving, they don't get around enough, and it would be really nice to provide transportation to many of the happier parts of Northeast Ohio. So I would be very much in favor of that.
Mr. Kingston, what about buses?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that sounds great. We have a robust human services department. I think they do already go outside of the city, don't they? I looked at some of their schedules. They go to plays. They go to. Oh, we have a driver here. But I mean, to take them additional places, sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. King, a question from a very personal question from someone in the audience. I have waited for a walkable town here in Brecksville for a few years. What is holding up sidewalks in Brecksville?
What is holding up sidewalks? Well, about 18 months ago, I rolled out, with the help of the administration, and presented our draft connectivity plan. We just started this process. Since then, we've got a lot of stuff in the works. Glenwood Trail, Route 82, sidewalks. I mean, I guess in general, to answer your question, is these things take a little time. I mean, we didn't start till last year. We've gotten several grants for pieces of sidewalks and, trails around town. I can list them later if we go over that topic, but, these aren't things that happen overnight. Some of the grants that we received, like the Safe Routes to School, is for 2026. CMAC also for 2 years away. Glenwood Trail, we were able to do immediately. Route 82, though, we have to wait for the residents to make some connections, and then we can continue the sidewalks from Emerald Woods down to the county line Simone.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, do you have some comments on making Brecksville more walkable?
I do. I would very much like to see a more walkable Brecksville. I've been talking about it since 2015. I'm glad we got the grant, but the grant only covers the sidewalk along the front of Blossom Hill property, about a quarter mile long. It does involve a trail that circles the property as well. But we need to connect that sidewalk at least to Sherwood Trail, because children are traversing that route now down Oaks Road, and I'm afraid someone's going to get hurt or killed. We need a sidewalk along Oaks Road before a tragedy happens. We built this elementary school. It's an attractive nuisance under the law. We created something that children want to go to. We have to deal with it. I also would direct you to the master plan and the bike trails and sidewalks that are set forth in that master plan, and I would very much like to start implementing that plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Starting with Mr. Petsche, this is a question about alternate forms of energy. And it asks, apparently, is there a solar panel ban in Brecksville? I'm asking a question for which I am not educated.
There is not a solar panel ban in Brecksville. However, you can only put solar panels on the back of your home without getting a variance. Variances seem to be few and far between, and it really discourages people. We need to allow people to put solar panels on the sunny side of their houses, whether they face north or south or whatever. And if they face south, you have to let them put solar panels on the south side of their homes. Now, solar panels have come a long way since I proposed this on City Council back in 2019 when it was voted down. However, they're flat black now. They don't reflect sun in people's eyes. They're attractive. So let's allow people to put solar panels up to reduce their heating bills and to reduce their energy costs and to save and to reduce our carbon footprint.
Stop, thank you. Mr. Kingston, your position about solar panels within Brecksville?
Solar panels within Brecksville on residential, I am in favor of the ordinance right now that keeps them in the back. I think it holds the aesthetics of the neighborhoods better. However, I am in favor of, also reducing our carbon footprint. Been researching other cities, and there have been other ones that have, started power usage agreements, where they brought in companies and, that deploy, install, and manage solar panels that we can put on roofs of maybe some of our city buildings. It's not a complete conversion to solar, but some of the cities have recorded up to a 30% savings. So I think something like that, that's zero cost to the residents, would be a good incremental step towards energy independence.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Kingston, this is about money too. If the city received a $1 million windfall, could happen, what would you recommend spending it on?
That's a good question. $1 million. Why don't we, since we're redoing, since we've invested so much money in the community center campus in the past couple of years, new natatorium, new outdoor pool, as well as a kids' quarters renovation project that's about to start in the next year and a half, where we're going to redo kids' quarters. Let's put the $1 million in the community center and fix it up, so the whole campus is complete.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche?
Well, I've already said I want to fix up the community center, but if we suddenly had an extra $1 million, I would put that sidewalk in from Sherwood Trail to Oaks Road.
I'm not sure we'll get you there, but.
Well, actually, Drew Van Norton, who I talked about with it today, said it would cost about $1 million. So.
Well, that's a convenient question then. Thank you. Mr. Petsche, starting with Mr. Petsche, there are a lot of commercial buildings that are available for lease on the south part of Brecksville. What can be done to attract more businesses and not have these for lease signs up in our town?
Well, office space has been down since COVID, and since people learned that they can work from home by Zoom or whatever. So we have to attract new business, and we have attracted some businesses here to Brecksville, but we have to focus on attracting more high-tech business. That should be our focus, to fill these office spaces, and I think we can do that by advertising what a great community we have here to live in. That we have proximity to the metro parks, we have great city services, we've been allowing people who have businesses here to work out at the rec center, which is a nice perk. So let's keep doing that, and let's do more to attract high-tech industry to the southern end of Brecksville.
Mr. Kingston, what are your ideas about commercial buildings that are up for lease?
We do have some, as do most communities around us. I think the answer is in branding. Branding our South Side Corporate Center as being a premier place to be in Northeast Ohio, and with Sherwin-Williams as the anchor. Anywhere you're at around 21, you're never more than a couple minutes, from a highway. We're just recently ranked as the first safest suburb in Cleveland suburbs, and I lost my train of thought, but.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you want to bring business to Brecksville. Starting with Mr. King. This is a question about the makeup of city council, but it is important to know the mayor's position on it, as it is to know council members, I believe. Are you for or against having representation by wards, dividing the city into wards, or having at-large council people?
I'm in favor of having at-large. I'm firmly against wards. When we went through this a couple years ago in the town, nationwide, the average size ward is about 17,000 people. Our city's only 13,000. It's small enough that we don't need, to have multiple representatives. Plus, it's hard enough to find people to run. So, no, 100% against wards.
Mr. Petsche?
I think wards could be a good idea. I think that maybe dividing the city into 4 wards and having 3 at large council people would be a good idea, because then you know when something is not right in your ward, who to call and who you want a response from. So it allows for more direct democracy, more communication. And it also makes sure that, for instance, all the council people don't come from the southwest corner or whatever. It gives people a chance in other areas of the city to run and to serve on council.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, a question has come up that I think would be interesting for everyone, for many people here, because we talked about sidewalks, and there seemed to be a little bit of difference, sidewalks here and sidewalks there. Can you help the audience understand who pays for sidewalks?
In most cases, sidewalks are paid for by an assessment to the property owner across which the sidewalk goes. I would certainly make an exception with that along Oaks Road, because that's an elementary school. How can we build an elementary school without a sidewalk? I don't understand. But we need a sidewalk there, and I would not assess the people along Oaks Road for that sidewalk. Also, people have gotten variances when they build their homes along, for not building sidewalks, but they can be called on to build that sidewalk in the future once there are sidewalks to connect to. I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of people being called on their variances, because they were granted these variances with the understanding that if the day comes to build a sidewalk, you have to build that sidewalk. And I would also...
Oh, sorry, Mr. Kingston, can you help us understand how sidewalks are paid for? Is it fair?
Yeah, I actually agree with Jack. It's traditionally the sidewalks are paid for by the person who owns the home. There are exceptions that are made, like for example on Glenwood Trail, when it's part of a larger infrastructure project, sometimes the city will chip in and pay for it. Sidewalks on Oaks, I mean, I'm in favor of calling in variances. I mean, if it comes to that. But right now, we've just been focusing on sidewalks that are city-owned, so we don't run into problems with that, because there is a lot of pushback in this city of people not wanting their tax dollars spent on sidewalks in front of someone else's house. They pay for sidewalks in front of their house. They don't want to pay for it in front of someone else's. So there is two sides to the story.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston, here's a question about the building that we are in tonight. The library is not city business, but the Brecksville Library is the smallest in the system. There's a lot of land around us. Have you ever thought about engaging the county and getting a bigger library, a more first-class library?
I wouldn't be opposed to a bigger, nicer library. I know the Cleveland Library was just dealing with planning over the last 6 months, because we're putting the drive-through in. I don't recall any conversations of them saying that they wanted to make it bigger or a need to make it bigger, but if that ever became a need, yeah, of course.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, what's your opinion of the library, its size and usefulness?
I love this library. I bring my grandchildren here. I enjoy this library. But if the people of Brecksville, and I'm for online polling to survey people. The people of Brecksville want a larger library. Certainly I would engage with the county to achieve that.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, starting with Mr. Petsche, how can Brecksville do a better job about celebrating the diversity that exists in Brecksville and make it known that all people who live here are safe and accepted?
If I'm elected mayor, everyone's going to be welcome here in Brecksville. I would make that known. I would put it on our website. I would put it wherever we can to let everybody know that everyone is welcome here in Brecksville.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston?
I would agree with that. I look at everybody through the same lens. And I want everyone to feel safe, everyone to feel welcome. And if I ever heard otherwise, as mayor and safety director, I would come down swiftly and harshly, period.
Thank you very much. This question is pretty specific about an area in Brecksville, and I don't live here, but I'm going to read this question in its entirety, and I assume many people in the audience will know to what it refers. As you are aware, the city is involved in litigation relating to a water retention basin in the Lake Part Estates development, and the city's refusal to address the structures that control the safe movement of water through the city. The residents in that development have been left with a large crater, have seen a drop in their property values. Other cities have made efforts toward addressing flooding. If you're elected mayor, what plans or policies would you implement to ensure the safety and property values of residents located in similar developments through our city? So it's a question about water, retention basins, and apparently the alleviation of flooding issues.
Yeah, and it was something that there was a mention to some litigation that was settled. I mean, the city was not at fault for that. But I mean, managing water is an ongoing process. The city used to be a lot worse. We've taken a lot of mitigation steps over the years. Our service department does a great job cleaning out catch basins before and after storms. That's a big part of it. We've worked on a number of projects around town with both Cleveland Water and Regional Sewer. So yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process and always constantly updating our stormwater management, and we'll continue to do that moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Petsche.
Okay. Fred, isn't that situation in the appellate court right now?
Yep.
Okay. So it hasn't been resolved, and it is a very unfortunate situation, and I don't understand why the city is refusing to help. What's happened is the city stormwater goes into this retention basin, but the outlet has collapsed. And why the city allows the inflow of water but won't help with the outflow of water is a mystery to me. But without getting into the details of it and reading the briefs, I can't really comment on that further, except that I would like to see the city help out.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Petsche, this question is going to be awfully hard to answer in 1 minute, but apparently there's a master plan for Brecksville, and can you please say what strategies you like in the master plan and how you would like to see it implemented?
Well, first of all, I think that we need another citizens committee to study the master plan and pull out those fine suggestions that everyone likes the most. And there are a lot of them. It's over 170 pages long. I worked on the master plan, and I can tell you there are many great ideas. One thing is a town center organization of merchants, so that the people who are vested can get together and decide how we can revitalize our town center. Maybe more lighting, maybe better crosswalks, a lot of things. Another great idea is a bikeway leading from Valor Acres to the town center, to give people an alternate way to travel so that so we alleviate congestion and people can ride their e-bikes without worrying about getting run over. There's all kinds of good ideas in there.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston? Master plan?
Yeah, master plan. There are some good points in it. I mean, a lot of it does not fit Brecksville. It's kind of a cookie cutter plan. One of the things that I take out of it the most is, I think on page 1 or 2 is, 95% of Brecksville residents are satisfied or very satisfied with living here. We have implemented some of the sidewalk and connectivity plans. Those are some good points in it. It actually is it is something that we use regularly to apply for different grants. There are a lot of good data points in the master plan that we've used specifically for our Safe Route to School funding. So, I mean, there is some good, probably needs to get redone after the pandemic.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Kingston, are you satisfied with the extent to which Brecksville supports bicycle transportation? Are there changes that you'd favor the city making in this area?
I mean, we've been making incremental small changes. I mean, bike sharrows on Glenwood Trail was kind of the first, the first thing that's happening. I'm really not for, bike lanes, on 21 and 82. If we could somehow widen those streets and add an additional bike lane, I'd be in favor for that. But just, putting the sharrows on like they have in Independence, most research I've seen shows that that's not really that much safer. I would just encourage people to, get their bikes to the park, and we're 1/3 park, and, ride down there.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, what about bicycles?
I think bike riding should be safe throughout Brecksville. We have to start providing for that. E-bikes are happening. I see more and more of them every day. That makes Brecksville rideable, where it really hasn't been before, because I've tried to ride up these hills. But with an e-bike, anybody could do it. I could do it. And people are doing it. And I see older people out there, I see children out there, and we need to keep people safe. So we need to find alternate safe routes for bicycles. I'm in favor of constructing bike paths on a long-term plan. I'm in favor of sharrows. I'm in favor of putting signs up that say, give bicycles 3 feet. It's the law in Ohio, and people don't do it. I've been almost hit myself, and I'm afraid to ride on 21, and that's not good.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, a question has come in asking what a mayor's position would be and what your position was in August when we all went to the polls in the state of Ohio to vote in a special election that was modifying the Ohio State Constitution with respect to the percentage of vote needed to pass a citizen initiative. Did you have a position on that special election?
Yes, I did. I voted no on issue 1.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston?
Yes, I did. I voted yes on issue 1.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston, there are multiple city committees. I'm not aware of how many of them, but I know in all cities there are multiple ways that residents can help with city government and be on an advisory position or maybe even have a little more power. But this questioner seems to think that the same names and faces are on multiple city committees. Do you have a plan to spread the availability of options to bring different people onto multiple city committees? Do you understand the question?
Kinda. I don't know about multiple people on multiple committees, but I mean, I think what they're saying is we have some people who, like, I'm assuming they're talking about planning commissions and recreation commissions. We do have people that, get on those boards and stay on a while. I mean, they're very qualified. Should they turn over a little bit more? Maybe so. We're going to have some openings coming up, usually at the end of every year. I encourage everybody to put your applications in, get your resumes in, come and talk to your local council people, express your interest that you want to get involved, and that's probably the first step.
We need to add more committees. We need a committee to talk about Central School on a regular basis. We need a committee to talk about Valor Acres on a regular basis. We need a committee of merchants to talk about Town Center on a regular basis. And we need to make these committees and committee meetings Zoom meetings so that everybody can participate in real time, ask questions, etc. Because a lot of us are just too busy to attend meetings at City Hall or elsewhere. But with Zoom, it's a lot easier. And it's interactive, you can ask questions, you can get questions answered, you can be part of the meeting from the comfort of your own home. This is what we need to do. We need participatory democracy, and we need more committees to deal with all of the issues facing Brecksville.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, what qualifications do you have that have prepared you for the position of mayor of this city?
Well, first of all, I have a law degree, so I understand that part of it. Secondly, I have run a business for over 40 years, a construction business, but I've learned from that construction business how to be careful with money, and I will be careful with your tax dollars. Secondly, I learned to lead. I learned to manage people. I learned to get things done on time and within a budget. And I think we can all agree that those are excellent traits for a mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kingston. What do you believe, what in your past do you have that you feel prepares you for the position of mayor of Brecksville?
Sure, in the past, I've had a lot of experience in multi-location unit management, the retail space, upwards of 8 and 9 offices, 75 people, managed P&Ls in a lot of different businesses, managed my wife's P&L with her practice. Really, the most relevant experience I have is I've really been training for this job for the past 2 years. I've been shadowing Mayor Ruby for the last year, and he's been full-time learning the operations of the city. And so I have real-world experience, real-world training.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston, we have some excellent student volunteers with us today. And a question has come in, how can the city and the school district better work together? And how can Brecksville better partner with Broadview Heights and with Richfield? So cooperation with school and community.
Yeah, it's actually a great question. I just had lunch with Mr. Harrison last week, and we kind of talked about different issues like this. Brecksville's always had a great relationship with the Brecksville Broadview. Had deteriorated over the last couple of years. I look forward to working with him in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, what do you have to say about working with the school and neighboring communities?
I think we should do everything we can to work with the school system. Our school system is like the shining jewel of our community. Many people move here for our school system. They stay here for our school system. My granddaughter's in first grade at Brecksville Broadview High Schools right now. So I'm very much in favor of doing everything we can to help the school system remain the great school system that it is, and maybe even become a little better.
Thank you very much. Here's a question for somebody that's been reading, the local papers, Plain Dealer, Cleveland.com, Cleveland Scene, other online forums often rank cities, and you always look at those to see where your city is. So starting with Mr. Petsche, what traits do cities like Chagrin Falls and Hudson have that Brecksville doesn't? Why do they rank as a better city to live in and raise a family? And what would you look to do to put Brecksville higher on those lists?
Well, first of all, I doubt it. Secondly, I think I've already said, I think that a more walkable city, a more bike-friendly city, a more vibrant downtown area with better lighting and more stores that people want to go see, and to fill those vacancies and that bank on the corner would be great. But walkability is the thing that people want to see today. And if we connect the rest of our city to downtown, and people can walk there and have a drink and walk home, and a little bit of nightlife, I mean, those things would enhance our city and our community, and I think that's all very achievable.
Mr. Kingston, what are your ideas about rivalry between other cities?
I don't think there's much rivalry. I mean, we were just, I guess, recently ranked 4th. I mean, that's like splitting hairs when our school district, ranks, 10th out of 600, and we, it's a 2-school drop. I mean, we're a top-tier community, #1 in tree canopy, #1 in safety. This 1/3 park. I really don't think we need to improve on a whole lot. I mean, just some incremental things along the way, but I don't agree with that list. I think it's fixed.
Okay then. Well, Mr. Kingston, questions have come in about Pride Fest in Brecksville. You said you would welcome everyone, yet emails to the City Council regarding requests for the support of Pride Fest went unanswered. Can you shed any light on this?
I'm not familiar with what you're talking about with unresponsive to Pride Fest. I know there was one up at the school.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was a school function. I did not attend.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, would you have any comment
What
on the
was
support
what
of
was the
Pride
question?
Fest?
I'm sorry.
Pride Fest apparently was something that was anticipated to have on the square and City Council was asked for recognition.
And it was denied?
Apparently is what I'm reading between the lines here.
Well, I attended Pride Fest. It was really nice. I mean, people were very friendly, and I applaud it. And the idea is to foster acceptance. And we've already said Brecksville is a welcoming community. I mean, let's prove it. Are we a welcoming community? Let's be welcoming. And if Pride Fest wants to be on the square, I think that's fine, because I think that it serves the function of allaying people's fears, and just let's all get to know one another and appreciate one another and accept one another. So I'm sorry that happened, and I would try to prevent that from happening if I was elected mayor.
Thank you.
I guess I just do want to clarify, there was no vote on council to not allow Pride Fest in the square.
I'm sorry if I gave that
Yeah, that's what implied.
impression. Thank you. Mr. Petsche, a question has come in about police having qualified immunity. Are you for or against police having qualified immunity? What would you do to help the police?
Qualified immunity is a very technical issue. But my short answer is I'm against qualified immunity. Okay? The police have a very difficult job. If they make a mistake, they should be forgiven for it. If they do something intentionally, they should be punished. Something wrong intentionally, they should be punished like the rest of us. Qualified immunity gets in the way of that process. What would I do to help the police? I would do anything necessary to help our police keep us safe. And I do think we should get them a few e-bikes so they can get closer to the community. and also, I think we should have an ice cream social like we do with the fire department, so we can all get to know our police, because there's some really nice guys there. Thank you.
Mr. Kingston, are you for or against police having qualified immunity, and what would you do to help police?
I'm for a qualified immunity. I do think our police, though, I can't run unchecked. Like I mentioned earlier, we did just recently get some grants for body cams for them, so that's going to be something new to protect them and anyone that they may interact with. We also just got some grants for vests for them, definitely keep them safe. I'm also in favor of getting them all the equipment and tools that they need to do their job, okay? One thing that I think is fair to bring up is when my opponent was on city council several years ago, he did not vote in favor of unnecessary firearms that the police came in and asked for. He said he was concerned of the militarization of police. Now, I wish we lived in a world where, you know, they could ride e-bikes and carry batons, but unfortunately we live in a really, you know, scary world on the I-77 corridor, and I want them to have everything they need to protect me and my family.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston. Excuse me, I think it's appropriate if Mr. Petsche explains his vote.
Sure.
All right. First of all, I abstained because the police chief was not there to explain why we had to replace our older AR-15s with new AR-15s. That was the issue at hand, and you know, I'm a steward of our dollars, and I don't understand why we needed new AR-15s, and I wanted the police chief to explain that, and he was on vacation. So I abstained from the vote. That's the long and short of it.
Thank you. I would thank you all for the questions that have come in, and I have one last question to ask before we move to closing statements, starting with Mr. Kingston. Can you describe as best you can the difference between you and your opponent? People have noticed that your platforms are incredibly similar. City services, safety, good schools, transparencies. So can you describe the difference between you and Mr. Petsche?
Sure. I think come election time, you know, people often try to say the same things. I think the main difference, though, is I've been involved in this city intimately for the past 4 years. I've been attended most every meeting that's been held in town, and the few that I've missed, I've watched. I think the proof is in the people who are supporting me. I'm honored to have the endorsement of the mayor. I'm honored to have the endorsement of city council leadership. Honored to have the endorsement of recently retired police chief Bill Goodrich. So the people who know me, people who, you know my involvement in the city, know the real me. So what you see online for me is really who I am.
Thank you. Mr. Petsche, can you describe, as you see it, the difference between you and your opponent, despite your similarity, of what's in brochures?
Well, I'm for solar panels. I'm for a more bike-friendly community. I'm for a more walkable community. I'm for doing something about town center. I'm for doing something about Central School. And that needs to be developed. We haven't talked about Central School, but I'd like to get that done. I'm for reducing our carbon footprint. I'm for putting solar panels on our city buildings. I'm for putting charging stations up. I'm for replacing our aging vehicles as they age out, not rush it, with EVs to, again, reduce our carbon footprint and save us money on gasoline. I think that these changes that I'm suggesting will save us money in the long run. And I'm all about saving money.
Thank you. It's now time. I would thank everyone who submitted questions. I did my best to ask every question. Some of them had a lot of similarities to a question that had been asked. But I'm sure as our meeting closes, if you have a question for the candidate, they will stick around and be able to talk individually with you. Is that true, gentlemen?
Yes.
You'll be here after the vote. Thank you. We're now ready to have the 2-minute closing statements, starting with Mr. Kingston.
Thank you. This is an exciting time for Brecksville, and our city has never been stronger. Collectively, and with my fresh perspective, we will continue to advance capital improvements and community development while prioritizing public input. We'll prioritize attraction and retention efforts for businesses, small and large, continuing to keep Brecksville a business-friendly city, always pushing to increase our income tax base, which is how and why property taxes haven't been raised in nearly 40 years. We'll see Valor Acres through to completion as a premier development, which will elevate our South End corporate district. We'll continue to grow our human services offerings to assist our seniors to age in place. We'll continue to grow our recreational offerings and the proposed development of Stadium Drive could provide potential opportunities for multi-use fields and growth for lacrosse and rugby. I'm also in favor of plans to build pickleball courts up at Blossom. The next council will always be tasked with investing in evolving technologies to expand lines of communication with residents, reducing our city's carbon footprint, and expanding on our connectivity plan, and discussing bringing a human resource component to our city government, which I'm in favor of. I look forward to seeing all of you on the campaign trail, and thank you very much for hosting.
Thank you, Mr. Petsche.
Thank you, fellow residents and League of Women Voters. I hope tonight you've learned about my vision for our future and you've gotten to know who I am as a business owner, a neighbor, and a family man. I love our city, and I know you love our city too. But we can love Brecksville and still want to move forward with better infrastructure, better land use, safe biking, and better connectivity. Running our city well will take a great deal of experience, skill, and proven leadership. 40 years of success in business and construction has given me the skill and experience to be the leader Brecksville needs now. I care about fiscal responsibility. I work with budgets every day, and I promise to be a responsible steward of your tax dollars. This past August, 61% of Brecksville residents voted overwhelmingly against Issue 1. Like our residents, I believe in democracy, and I also voted no on Issue 1. I agree with the majority of Brecksville residents on voters' rights and women's rights, and I am proud to stand with you. I will be available to you by email, by phone, and in person. I encourage your participation in our democracy. Our city is full of talented people. We need to draw on their expertise through forming more citizens committees and through Zoom meetings so everyone can participate. I'm ready to be your mayor. I'm asking for your vote on November 7th. I welcome all of you to reach out to me with any questions or ideas. This is not a red city. This is not a blue city. This is our city. Elect me mayor, and I will bring us all together. Thank you.
Here. I would like to thank these candidates myself as moderator. I've moderated many candidates nights, and I know how tough it is to face different question after different question after different question. And these candidates both put their all into it. Please thank them again with your applause. To also thank those folks within Brecksville that put this meeting together for the benefit of all of you. We have some wonderful people helping us. I would like to thank the high school students who helped with the questions and also with the timing, timekeepers. Men with the Career Center who have videotaped this meeting. And this meeting is going to be on YouTube within the end of the week, and we hope that the city will spread that link and that the candidates on their website will also spread that link. Voting is coming up quickly. You know you can go downtown to vote at the Board of Elections. And you know you can send this in to be able to vote at home if you are going to be away from your house and your polling place on election day. Please make sure you vote. It's part of our incredible democracy. In addition, I would have you pick up one of these little resource cards telling you how to get information on candidates for this election and for future ones. There's a simple website we all need to learn, vote11.org. When you, 411. What did I say? 411.org. When that comes up, you put your address in, and it brings you the information particular to where you live. With that, I would close this meeting. Thank you very much.
Enjoy their senior year.